climbing a mountain my faith could not move. It's the only way forward, it's the only way through. No bridges or highways, directions or plans. These pathways of prisons remind me again that I've got a Father who knows me by name, and I've got a shepherd who won't lead me astray, and I've got a future, I've got a hope, I've got a promise, I'm never Life is a journey through the highs and the lows. There's no need to hurry. Let's take it slow. The time we've been given is the treasure we hold, and the older I'm getting, there's one thing I know, that I've got a Father who knows me by name, and I've got a shepherd who won't lead me astray, and I've got a future, I've got a hope, I've got a promise, I'm never and mercy are following me all the days of my life, following me, and my dwelling will be the house of the Lord forever. And I will not fear what I do not know, what I misunderstand. Cannot control, my dwelling will be the house of the Lord forever. 'Cause I've got a Father who knows me by name, and I've got a shepherd who won't lead me astray, and I've got a future, I've got a hope, I've got a promise, I'm never alone.
praise y'all for that beautiful, beautiful worship song. And he said the lyrics in there that we are never alone. Never alone. And I want us to remember as we proceed with Fragmented Soul, part 11, on the 5th V, eviction. I want us to understand whatever we are focused on, whatever belief we function under, will determine the direction our lives go in. You know, that song, Keep Your Eyes on Yahusha. That's very pertinent, because if our eyes are focused on Yahusha, that's going to coincide with our beliefs, and that is going to coincide with the footsteps we follow. So our focus and our beliefs determine the direction our lives go in. Are we going in the direction of good, or are we going in the direction of evil? Are we staying on his narrow path, or are we taking detours? Very, very important, very simple. You know, all of you know, I used to have my own motorcycle. Softail Deluxe was my last motorcycle I had. And when I took the motorcycle training course, safety course, and even before then, people would say, be careful of what you focus on, because where your eyes focus, your bike will go. And you're like, okay, really? You know, I mean, you're trying to comprehend that. Where I focus on, the bike will go. Well, I didn't really fully understand that until we went to visit Yellowstone. And we drove our bikes up from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, through the Grand Tetons up to Yellowstone. And that was when that was before I had the motorcycle safety course, and I only had like 500 miles under my belt. So that was really a challenge to take on the hills and the curves and the speed and all of this stuff, you know, because when you're first learning something, you're just technical, you know, you're just trying to get the techniques of it all. So we went all the way up to Yellowstone, and we were coming back, and it was bumper to bumper the cars going to Yellowstone, and we were coming back down from Yellowstone, and there were some tight curves. And I can remember because it was intense, my eyes was like, okay, I don't want to go over in that lane with all those cars coming, and it was a narrow path. And I caught myself looking at the front fender of this car. And what happened, the more I looked at that front fender, my bike was going through it. I mean, to it, excuse me. It was going towards it. And it was so freaking me out that I had to shift my focus because it scared me. So I looked the other way. And guess what? Lo and behold, that's where my bike went. So that's a very important piece of information. Our focus and beliefs determine the direction our lives go. Keep our eyes on Yahusha. And our beliefs are so important because our beliefs fine-tune the direction we're going in. The more we have gleaned from knowing that we are Israel born from above. We are his kingdom of priests. We are Israel born from above. We are the one new man. We understand now his Moedim and the importance thereof. We understand his Shabbat. We understand clean and unclean. We understand being set apart. We understand how that can totally change our lives, that brings strength. And that's so very, very important. What are you focusing on? Be mindful of what you're focusing on. Very, very important. Because if you focus on something, you're going to go to it. But if you shift your focus, shift it to his word, shift it to doing something else, break that negative direction. Focus on where you want to go and strengthen your beliefs in him. He said, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge. My people perish because of lack of knowledge of his word, his ways, not mixed man-made ways of religion and denominations and all of this stuff. And intertwining with the world. His ways. You know, he warned his people in the first Exodus. Don't take up the traditions of the heathens around you. Don't focus on them and what they do. Focus on me. I'm your good shepherd. I am the way. Don't follow them. Don't focus on them. Don't go by their beliefs. Don't go by their beliefs. I mean, we are so greatly blessed. We are not too many people gathered. Or, I mean, sometimes it gets really lonely. Because when our focus is on that narrow path that leads to life, his word says, what? Few find it, right? It does get a little lonely when few find it. And we're scattered all over this earth, all over the 7 continents. It really does get rather lonely, you know, and then our focus can kind of go back to some of that familiar old time territory, right? We can't do that. We can't go back, right? Never look back. Once you put your hand to the plow, don't focus backwards. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look at that car fender. You'll crash and burn. And he gives us free will. He gives us free will. So Shabbat Shalom to everybody. And today we will be viewing part 11, Eviction, in the Fragmented Soul series. And this is really a good one. I found it to be very pivotal, if you will, of how to get rid of the baggage. Whether there's old baggage of thoughts, repetitious thoughts, or words or deeds or substance abuse, or if we're functioning under lie-based beliefs we have collected over a lifetime. And I believe Pastor Bob will get into that topic more. I don't go ahead. If we're on session 11, I stay on session 11. I know he talks about he's going to get to, I haven't viewed the whole series. I'm taking one step at a time. I'm staying focused on where I'm at and taking one step at a time. When Yahusha informed us to come out of her, my people, I believe that phrase covered much territory and should not be limited to 1 or 2 persons, places, or things. I mean, when he says, come out of her, my people, you know, we should ask that question a lot in all aspects of our lives. It's not only coming out of sometimes so-called congregations that are functioning under lie-based beliefs. I mean, that's something that we all have in common, that all of us, most of us have done. And we may go into it if he says, be a missionary to that field. I'm not saying that because he ate with sinners, right? He got accused of eating because what did he say? He said, it's not the healthy that need a doctor. It's the sick. Hallelujah, people. It's the sick. He came to seek and to save who? That which is lost. He didn't come in to condemn the world. He came in to what? Save the world. Hallelujah. So coming out of her, my people, I believe can involve persons, bad influences, places, bad places that he doesn't want us to be at, or things. What are we involved in that may be considered strange fire? You know, most believers wouldn't even consider these things very deeply as we have. Most wouldn't have put in some standards from his word that we really want to achieve. Because why? Because we know we are his kingdom of priests, and he's our high priest after the Melchizedek order. We understand how our priestly duties. We understand how to enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. We understand how to respect him as the King of Kings. We understand that he has higher expectations to his people that understand set apartness and understand priestly duties. He understands that. Not that we're under the law, we're under his covenant Torah. He does provide grace when we fall short, but he does want us to obey. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So with that phrase of come out of her, my people, that verse goes on to say, lest you partake in her sins and plagues. The sins and plagues are only symptoms of root issues that manifest. Remember, the root not dealt with will manifest. If the root cause is not addressed, the sins and plagues continue. It is like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. So Revelation 18:4 reads, and I heard another voice from the heavens saying, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins and lest you receive her plagues. Sins and plagues. So as we discussed last week, this process not only can be applied to us as individuals, but I believe this can be applied to the Echad body of believers as the one new man with Yahusha as the head. We discussed that many man-made religions, denominations are functioning under, is this not true? They're functioning under lie-based beliefs, which whether they know it or not. They may be doing it unknowingly as we did it for a season, or they may be doing it knowingly because they don't want to give up their traditions of men. Crying over Tammuz, crying over Christmas holidays, crying over Ishtar, Easter fertility goddess holidays, and lying to children to grow them up doing the same thing. And that's a mixture of lies mixed with biblical truths. That's not good. The body of believers and many individuals in Yahusha are suffering from what? They're suffering from identity crisis. They don't know who they are. In essence, they're disassociated with who they are in Yahusha, are they not? Why? Because we live in a fallen world that has brought brokenheartedness and fragmentation. This fallen world is very violent, very evil. And also because we have been programmed under lie-based beliefs and mind control since we were itty-bitty. But with Yahuah, we are more than conquerors in Yahushua HaMashiach. We are overcomers. He has opened the prison gates, but we have to choose to walk out of familiar surroundings of how we have always functioned and move into the plans he has for us by faith. When Peter was rescued out of prison by an angelic messenger, he chose to take action. And individually, we must take action too. In Acts chapter 12, verse 8, and the messenger said to him, gird yourself. What do we gird ourselves with? We gird ourselves with truth, his truth only. And bind on your sandals. What sandals are we walking in? What authority are we walking in? Are we walking in our own sandals of authority? Are we the boss of our life with our own sandals? Or have we been through the covenant confirming meal and have we removed our sandals, set them aside, let Yahusha wash our feet? And he's given us his sandals to walk in. All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples. We should be walking in his sandals. Gird yourself, the angelic messenger told Peter. Bind on your sandals. And he did so. Peter listened and he did it. We have to do it. And he said to him, put on your garment. What garment do we have? Are we cloaked with his righteousness? Or are we cloaked with the worldly clothing, dead man's clothes? And lastly, the angelic messenger told him, and follow me. Okay. Follow me. To follow someone, you have to keep your focus. You have to keep your focus on that person to follow that person. And you have to have faith and belief that that person is leading and guiding you in the right direction. If Peter had not chosen to take action, Peter would have perished for lack of knowledge and not knowing the day of his visitation. If he would have listened to his own reasoning and logic, he may have frozen. He may have convinced himself, there's no way I can get out of this place. Or we might be talking to ourselves, oh, there's no way I can get rid of that addiction. There's no way I can conquer this stumbling block in my life. Who are we listening to? Who's stealing our joy? Who's stealing our life? He might have told himself, well, there's guards at these gates, and these gates are big and thick and locked. We'll never be able to go past them. No, he did not argue with the day of his visitation. He walked out of there by faith. He listened to what the angelic messenger told him to do, and he walked out of there by faith. And in the end of days, when Yahuah sends us a very strong message to go now, you gotta listen by faith and go. And I told y'all that story. The only time I ever heard an audible voice was when he was calling me to go now. It was so real to me that I because I guess I hesitated, or I was kind of shocked when I first heard it in my inner hearing, that the voice repeated, go now. And I was like, okay. I mean, I answered out loud. I mean, like, really? And I believe that was to show me that in the end of days, he will speak to us. He will speak to his people. And I gathered my things and prepared, and I got on the road, and I got in the car, and I had a general idea where to go, but I did not know how to get there. I just went by faith. And I called Carol Ann so she would know where I was, and it was approaching 9, 10 o'clock. And you know, I really didn't know where I was going. I told her, I said, you know, all I know is he told me to go. He goes, well, Libby, I know how to get there. I kept those directions from the time me and you went. And then 2 weeks later, the same thing happened, but it happened while I was at work right before lunchtime. I was at my computer. Mom, I wasn't even thinking about it. Go now. Whew. It was the same message. Very powerful. I just told everybody that day I had to take an early lunch, and I went. Perfect timing. Perfect timing each time. We cannot go before he commands us, and we cannot lag behind. And it's an act of faith. It's an act of faith. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Yahusha, which strengthens me. We can do all things. Is that our belief? Is that our focus? Or are we self-sabotaging ourselves? We believe his word, or do we not believe his word? If we believe his word, the stronger we'll be. And we can only, corporately, we can only be as strong as the weakest link. So we want to help those that are having struggles. We want to lift them up in prayers. We want to strengthen them. We want to encourage them. We want to function as one body in Yahusha. However, if we choose to live under lie-based beliefs, we limit ourselves. Maybe you were told growing up, you can never be anything. You can't do that. Oh, you'll never get over that. If we function as good Bereans, we will know his ways. We will know when violence is done to his word, because even his word has had violence done to it. And even his word, man has mixed lies with it and teach it from pulpits. Whoa, Ezekiel 22:26. Her priests have done violence to my teaching, and they profane my set-apart matters. They have not distinguished between the set-apart and profane, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and clean. And they have hidden their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profaned in their midst. Zephaniah chapter 3:4, her prophets are reckless, treacherous men. Her priests have profaned the set-apart place. They have what? They have done violence to the Torah, to his word. In Luke chapter 16:14-17, and the Pharisees who loved silver also heard all this and were sneering at him. What does that mean, Libby? They were manifesting the evil within them. They were sneering. So he said to them, you are those who declare yourselves righteous before men, but Elohim knows your hearts. Because what is highly thought of among men is an abomination in the sight of Elohim. The Torah and the prophets are until John. Since then, The reign of Elohim is being announced, and everyone is doing violence upon it. And it is easier for the heaven and the earth to pass away than for one tittle of the Torah to fall. Those in our Shabbat group, and those of us receiving and cross-checking truths from Torah to the Tribes ministry and Pastor Bob's ministry at Jed Baptist, are drawing closer to Yahusha, the way, the truth, and the life. We're drawing closer to wholeness and strength and health. We're drawing closer to his Moedim and moving away from sins and plagues that have fragmented, have tormented, have violated us individually and corporately as believers. Well, Libby, how would the corporate body be sharing in her sins and plagues? Well, because they worship him as they want to, and not as he wants us to. They are being taught under these lie-based beliefs, the violence done to his word. So there's brothers and sisters that are still caught up in, that are part of the body, but they're under congregations and feeding. They're feeding on lie-based beliefs. They're feeding on clean and unclean. And most of the brothers and sisters being led astray in these congregations, they don't understand set apartness. Oh, they call themselves saints. They don't understand what a saint is. They don't understand what holiness, kedoshim, is. They don't understand clean versus unclean. And because of the lack of holiness and the knowledge of clean and unclean, the corporate body is sick mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. They are plagued and stagnant. And that also applies to us individually, as we've been discovering in this Fragmented Soul series. So individually, we can ask ourselves, am I worshiping Yahuah as he wants me to, or as I want to? Maybe worshiping when it's convenient. Am I having daily quiet time with him, devotionals? Am I honoring his Shabbats? Am I following his feast days? Our wedding rehearsals? What sins and what plagues, substance abuse or illnesses are presently attacking my soul and body? What door have I opened to be attacked by such, or am I set apart and I'm just experiencing such from the fallen world I am surrounded by? Because sometimes that's all it takes. I mean, we live in a fallen world, and sometimes what we're exposed to, we have no control over, and sometimes that attacks our body. But Yah tells us we're never alone. He sees us through things. And ask ourselves, what does Yahuah's word say about whatever I'm dealing with, whatever I'm experiencing? Is it something he wants me to go through as a testimony to others? Or did I open a door that brought in a plague in my life, either spiritually, physically, mentally, or emotionally? In Hosea chapter 4, it says, "Hear the word of Yahuah, you children of Israel, for Yahuah has a case against the inhabitants of the land. For there is no truth or loving commitment or knowledge of Elohim in the land. Swearing and lying and murdering and stealing and committing adultery have increased, and bloodshed follows bloodshed. Therefore the land mourns." I believe someone put in chat earlier, you know, the land has been violated. His creation has been violated. This is a fallen world, and we experience violations left and right. So verse 3 says, therefore the land mourns, and everyone living there languishes with the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens and the fish of the sea are taken away. However, let no one strive or reprove another, for your people are like those striving with a priest. And you shall stumble in the day, and the prophet shall also stumble with you in the night, and I shall make your mother perish. My people have perished, or they're very highly malnourished. My people have perished for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being priest for me. Now, they may be saved, but not all have the privilege of being part of his kingdom of priests to enter into his very presence. There's the bride, there's the attendants, and there's the guests. It goes on to say in verse 6 of Hosea 4, since you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, I also forget your children. So this week's session, Pastor Bob will walk us through the eviction process, which may involve thoughts that we have, words that have been spoken over us, deeds that we've done, persons, places, or things that affect us or trigger us mentally, physically, emotionally, and or spiritually. The 5V tools are not linear, right? They're cyclical. We can use them over and over as needed in the healing and maintenance process, and we can use them to help one another heal. The 5Vs can be ever active in our lives, individually and corporately. So we are really gleaning so much from this process. So with that introduction, let's watch the session on 11.